Hello everybody and welcome to this in the latest series of URM webinars preparing for PCI DSS version 4. My name's Lisa Dargan, I'm one of the directors at URM and I'm joined today by Alistair Stewart, who's both one of our senior consultants and QSAs.
Good morning everyone.
So let's take a look at the agenda. Let's just run through what we're going to cover on this webinar. We're going to have a very brief recap of version 4 and look at the transition timetable. We're going to look through scoping and in particular evidence requirements in version 4. And for those of you who haven't had much of a chance to look at it yet, it is different to version 3.2.1. We're going to look at multi-factor authentication and dealing with multi-factor authentication, the new technical requirements for payment pages, which are quite important that you make sure that you understand those, supply chain management, particularly if you're reliant on service provider ROCs, you're on one version, they're on another version, how's that going to work? Do you all need to transition together? We're going to look at remote assessments. See, during COVID, they became the only way to assess, and a lot of people would like to continue with them, but there's some fairly strict rules around remote assessments. We look at customized validations, and then we've got an offer at the end of the webinar. We'll also run through questions that have been raised during the webinar, and also there'll be a feedback form. I've already been asked a couple of questions so far about will there be options to get the recording or the slides? Yes, there are. Please address that in the feedback form at the end of the webinar and they will be made available to you. So for those of you who aren't familiar with URM, let me just give you a little bit of information about us briefly. So we've been involved in PCI certainly for over 15 years, and during that time we have dealt with both across PCI and other information security standards over 350 successful certifications. What makes us different, and you're about to meet one of those passionate people, we have a passionate team of people, both who've worked where you are, probably trying to achieve compliance, and on this side of the fence as consultants, initially helping people get compliant, and as QSAs and assessors, assessing people to be compliant. We absolutely and truly believe that it's about making sure the standard and the requirements work for you and that your business is working in a sensible, pragmatic and appropriate way to achieve PCI DSS compliance, and we are very passionate about that. I'm joined today, I'm very fortunate to have Alistair with us. Alistair's one of our senior consultants, has been a QSA since 2015 and been involved with information security for 14, 15 years. Alistair's conducted well over 100 assessments, so he's very familiar with both previous versions and the current version as a standard. And I've dragged Alistair away from working with clients today to, well, one, put the webinar together previously, but to spend some time with us all this morning. So Alistair, thank you for your time and welcome to the webinar as well. And perhaps, Alistair, we can start with, I suppose, the recap and transition timetable. So the most obvious question that for me jumps to mind is, why do we need a new version?
Yeah, that was always the question that was asked every time we get a new version of PCI DSS. And fortunately, the council, whenever they release a new version, give us what their goals and objectives are for the new version every time they go ahead and release one, so we can get an idea as to what their thoughts are on why. And the primary driver in most cases has been,